Okay, let's look at how this tool can take a big selection of PLR content and spin out variations of it. It's a very, very simple, straightforward piece of software to use. You have a source folder selection, so I've just gone somewhere on my hard disk and these are old articles, these are from October 2010. And I'm just going to grab the ones on internet marketing. So in that folder there's a whole load of text files. The files must be standard.txt files. The output folder, select where you want the output to be put, and then decide on your spinning method. And this is part of this video that's going to take the longest to explain, is how these things work, but it is fairly simple. The software has a master synonyms list built into it, and that synonyms list is hundreds of thousands of possible word exchanges that can be made. The list in this particular piece of software has been made considerably more selective than it would be in other spinners, and that is because we don't want too much chance of getting word substitutions that just don't make sense. For example, if you in a full synonym checker look up the word dog, as well as getting the variations of the animal, so canine, hound and things like that, you will also get variations on, as in, to dog somebody, so to badger someone, to pester them, to vex them. Now obviously if it uses all those combinations, you're just going to get nonsense, but an automatic spinner has a hard time working out what context the word is being used in. So the synonyms list that this uses is a lot more selective than a full-on synonyms list, but it's still pretty massive. Now you choose here how much of the synonyms list you want to use, and it's a simple slider. That's if you want to use it at all. You don't have to use the synonyms method, you can turn it off. Now I've normally, if I've got time, I would probably go up to about 20%. The higher you set this, and it'll only let you go to 40 as a maximum, because much beyond that you just get gibberish. The more words you substitute out with synonyms, the more unique your article gets, but the less readable it becomes. So we've limited you to a maximum of 40% here. Quite simply, because when I first tested this out, I went bowling in and was setting it to 75–80%, and the articles were just nonsense by the end. So somewhere between 5 and 20% is going to be good. You can experiment with this a little bit and find out what works best for you. The second method of spinning is quite well known. This is the translator method, and that is that people discovered that if you take an article and run it through a foreign language translator and then translate it back to English, the output is a little bit different to what went in, and it makes your article a little bit more unique. The downside of the translator method is that other tools that have come out are indiscriminate in which language they pick, and we did a lot of tests. If, for example, you were to take an English document and turn it into Afrikaans and then turn it back, you're not really going to have anything that you can understand. Whereas certain other key languages, mainly the European languages, work fairly well in translating. Now what we do is we take the article a paragraph at a time and translate it once and translate it back, but we vary the languages in which it does it in. And you can also choose to do it more than once. So this got up to 4 levels deep. If you choose 2, for each paragraph it will translate it into one language and back, and then it will pick another language and translate it and back. So again, the higher you set this, and the highest is 4 levels, the higher you set it, the more unique your content gets, but the less readable it gets. And the other thing on both of these, the higher you set them, the longer the program will take to generate the spun content. The spinning on this isn't the fastest in the world, but what we've tried to go for is something that can auto spin, but produce something that's going to give you results that make sense. Too many auto spinning solutions out there just give you nonsense every time. So we try to give you a bit of control and at the same time be fairly thorough. So let's just run an example through. We will use 10% of the synonyms list, and we will go one level deep. When we've set it however we want it, we click the spin button and off it goes. Now obviously you can, as I mentioned, you can untick these, so you could only be using one or other method. Now I'm just going to move this up a little bit so you can see the status at the bottom here. It's going through. 10% of our synonyms list is over 1700 synonyms. I just need to let my firewall kick in there. I have an oversensitive firewall. The translation system it's using a web API, and it's doing it in batches, which is how we're able to do so many different languages and variations. And the size of the paragraphs and the amount of text and everything else will depend on how fast this runs through. So the main idea of this tool is to just take text files and give you variations. Typically you would set this running in the background, because you can minimize this and leave it running. It doesn't take up too much in the way of system resources. Better still, select a folder with loads of articles in it and set it going overnight, or whenever you've got some system idle time, when you go for a coffee or something like that. So I'm going to pause the video for a second, and then when this finishes I will go to the output folder and we'll take a look at what we've produced. Okay, we're back and it has finished spinning our content. If we go to the folder that's in, there we are, and these are the various documents that it has spun and output. Hopefully if we load one of them up, we should find that it still makes some sense. Mostly with Google's ranking tips to get inbound links to your website, and for good reason, and I think you find that that's not too bad at all. Obviously if we had increased the synonyms use or the levels, it would have taken longer and it would have made it even more unique. I strongly recommend, depending on the type of article that you're spinning, that you experiment with these settings a little bit and find out what works best for you. But that's all there is to this tool. It's that simple. Give it its input folder, which will be a folder containing a load of text files, PLR articles. Tell it where you want the output to go. That has to be a different folder, and ideally wants to be a folder that doesn't really have anything in it to begin with. Choose your settings, hit the spin button. That's it. Very, very easy. Thank you for watching.